Greetings, everyone. This is the PIOJ's Dialogue for Development Instagram Live, today, August 28, 2023. Welcome to our first edition. My name is Sharon Powell, Corporate Planner at the PIOJ, and I am your host. The PIOJ will return with the Dialogue for Development lecture and series on November 1 and November 2 later this year. This is a platform, as the name suggests, for the public to have meaningful dialogue on development issues. It will also be the first time that we will be streaming live for this event. This will be an online event featuring a speaker and panel discussions. We will be breaking down and exploring topical issues using the most current data from speakers who know their subject matter inside out. Our focus today will be on the theme of education, one of the cross-cutting themes that we will be exploring at the two-day Dialogue for Development series on November 1st and 2nd. Of course, the main reason to be here live is to hear from Jamaicans who follow us on social media. So we are excited to hear from you in the chat. So please participate. At the end of the program, we will be giving away a prize. So if you want to win a prize, that definitely is another good reason for you to stay with us throughout this live presentation. Today, our speaker will be Dr. Steven Kerr. He is a former classroom teacher and university lecturer, so he has a wide range of experience in the educational arena. Dr. Kerr was the Director of Human and Community Development here at the PIOJ and is now the Director for Policy Analysis and Research at the Ministry of Education, Youth, and Information. His doctoral research was on school effectiveness. Today, he will be delivering a presentation on bold steps in education transformation. Dr. Kerr, are you ready?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. The pleasure is all mine.
Youth and Information. His doctoral research was on school effectiveness.
Give me a second.
Today, we will be delivering a presentation on bold steps.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me go ahead.
Having a little feedback. We're welcoming you twice over.
Okay.
I was just getting a little bit of feedback, so we're welcoming you again.
All right,
and we're welcoming to all who have joined us since.
I don't know you gave a preamble of what this is all about. This is about an education transformation movement that started way back in 2004, led by the then Prime Minister PJ Patterson. Earlier in 2000, the current Prime Minister enlisted the support of Professor Orlando Patterson, to do a comprehensive review of those 2004 recommendations, and then to commit to a set of recommendations to transform the current system. And so out of that particular transformation program came 365 recommendations, one for each day of the year. And it's designed to transform the education system. My presentation today is not about what was recommended. My presentation is about how do we transform? What are the critical success factors to transformation? And so here's where I want to start. I want to say there are 4 or 5 functional principles that we need to take into consideration to transform the education sector. We need to look at improved organization and coherence in the governance of the sector. That's one of the transformation ideas. We need to transform instructional pedagogy, emphasize learning as a collaborative process. We need to emphasize the inclusion of STEAM, STEM, and STREAM. You name them, somebody tells you what they are. STEM, STEAM, and STREAM. Science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. And somebody suggests we should include research. We need to look at social and emotional learning. Our kids have just come out of an hiatus of 2 years, and some of them have been acting up. And we think that there is some need for some social and emotional learning efforts to get them to come back to reality, to plan their behavior, to change their behavior patterns. And we need to look at equity. Our education system for years have not been based on equity. And so we think that that's an important move going forward. And so as it relates to the 7 pillars of change that we're thinking of, the regulation, the code of regulation, the education regulation have been in the making for change for in excess of 16 years. And that is one of the important ingredients going forward. If we're going to transform the system, we need to have regulations and the Education Act in place. We need to ensure that there's use of data to effective decision making. So important in this is a data management system and an education management information system that has data at the center of everything that we do. You're going to make changes to the curriculum, we need data. You're going to make changes to schools, to infrastructure, we need data. So critical success factor is the availability of data. We can identify students, track their performance, track teachers' professional development. We need an information system. They always say if you start them right, we'll make them bright. And so we think that early childhood education is going to be critical. We need to look at the Early Childhood Commission. We need to improve its relevance, its efficiency in its operation. We need to look at how we improve the quality of our practitioners and increasing the number of trained teachers and resource allocation to early childhood. In relation to teaching curriculum and teacher training, there has to be a focus on the teaching profession, making teachers professionals. Look at teaching. So apart from having quality teachers, we need to have quality teaching. Look at the curriculum, look at assessment, look at those students who are out of school. How do we get them back in? And so we need to place priority on getting highly motivated teachers, quality teaching. We need to look at early intervention, identifying remedial or corrective initiatives, and having an M&E plan that looks at the system, looks at teacher training, make sure that the teachers that we're putting out of the system are ready to work and are qualified. We need to ensure equity and access, looking at the equitable distribution of resources to our schools, the greater use of online modalities, look at total learning, increasing involvement of the wider community, wider participation, looking at providing non-academic support to the sector.
Dr. Kerr, if you could, I think we've lost you. So, Dr. Kerr, begging your pardon, I think we've lost you. So, oh.
You got me now?
Yes, got you back.
We need to look at partnerships for total learning, looking at increased involvement in the wider community, providing opportunities for children in poverty. And that's one of the important ingredients, especially at the tertiary level. We're thinking of how we get more of the poor into tertiary, more of the poor into tertiary. Look at children with disabilities. We're looking at a special education act that will put more teachers, more shadow teachers, we call them shadows into our schools, helping students with disability. The tertiary sector, we're going to make it cheaper. We're going to ensure that the people who want to go to tertiary and cannot afford it, we're going to try and get more of them into tertiary. And so what we need to look at is looking at how we prepare students for the labor market. So we have identified some areas in the labor market, and we want to ensure that our students, especially those who are going into those areas of the labor market, receive this training free of cost, or at minimal student loan assessment. We're looking at TVET. TVET is where we want to go. We want to integrate that into the secondary school curriculum. The greater use of skills training in our system. Two other things: infrastructure and technology. We need to look at our schools, ensuring that there are more green spaces, athletic fields, psychosocial development in our schools, security, having all of these cameras. Many of the things that happen in our schools today wouldn't have happened if we had all of these in place. Specialized labs to support different STEAM areas, and the development of a broadband structure to increase internet penetration in rural communities and in all our schools. And I should say, finally, we won't get here unless we have finance. And so there's an effort to attract and utilize private funding and to critically and review and expand our social security programs. I think in a nutshell, if we get these things done, and important also is buy-in. We have to have buy-in from the population, buy-in from the political directorate. We want to ensure that parents know what we're trying to do. Parents, students are held, school students are held accountable for going to school and so forth. So the whole accountability matrix needs to be taken into place. So once we get that buy-in, once we get policies in place, once we revise the Education Act and the Code of Regulation, I think we are halfway, maybe more than halfway, there towards creating an educational transformation system. We're trying also to build some schools, some new schools, some STEM schools we call them. We're building 6 of them, as well as a school for the visual and performing arts. We think our kids are so good at the arts that we're thinking of building a high school just for the visual and performing arts and getting our kids, because this is a market that we can tap into. So STEM, STEAM, getting the critical things in, getting people to own the process, looking at the benefits. We want a committed leadership. We want to look at leadership in our schools and leadership of our system. And we want to align. So one of the things that we haven't done well is implement. We want to align what we're doing to the plans of ministries, departments, to the plans of individual workers in the sector. And as such, when you talk about implementations, we are the implementers. Everybody, every Jamaican is involved in the educational transformation of the system. What the PIOJ did well many years ago was to get bipartisan support in putting together Vision 2030. We think critically that's going to be important in getting the sector going. Bipartisan support, a mindset change. There are a number of people who needs a mindset change to get this thing going. Stakeholder participation and closer collaboration. In essence, this is my five minutes presentation of what we need to do to transform education in Jamaica. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kerr. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And at this juncture, let me just welcome those who may have joined us subsequent to our starting. And just as a reminder, this is the lead up to the Dialogue for Development lecture series, which we'll be having on November 1 and November 2. And our focus today is on education. And with us is Dr. Steven Kerr, who just gave us a wealth of information on the education transformation movement and the attendant priority items in the transformation plan. So from what you have outlined, Dr. Kerr, there is a whole lot. And I would imagine there will be some priority areas because one leads into the other. As you said, the alignment is very important. The buy-in is very important. So where do we begin? So other than having the plan, what do you think will be the focus area? Where do we kick off?
The focus areas are known. There are 7 focal points. But what is important is a mindset change that we want to transform the system. We want to get everybody involved. We want everybody. It's just like a Vision 2030. Everybody knew that is a place of choice to work and raise families and all of these beautiful things. We want to make sure that it's in the minds of every Jamaican that we're trying to transform the system. And the way to transform it is actually to get people on the ground transforming all the issues and all the buyers, all the stakeholders involved to be aware that we're trying to transform the system in the shortest possible time. It speaks about a 2030 change. That's 7 years in the making. How do we do all of these things in 7 years? Critically, resources are going to be involved. Critically, it's going to be support, both public sector and private sector. One of the things that we're going to be doing, government alone cannot do it. We want to look at infrastructure. There needs to be infrastructural changes. I told you about 7 new schools coming on. We want to look at how we transform schools into STEAM, into having STEM methodology infused into their curriculum. We think that integral to all of these things is getting more people from the lower socio SES into quality schools, creating quality teachers, creating quality teaching. You get those things in place, we think we're on the way to transformation.
Okay, very good. But how do we begin this conversation with the transformation of the mind? Because, you know, it all begins there. How do we get the buy-in from the key stakeholders, which I would think would be the parents and the students and the teaching fraternity? How do we engage? How do we get that change in believing that this would be the best way to go and for us to transform our thinking and our behavior to ensure that it comes to fruition?
Much of what we're going to have to do has to do with public relations, public mass media support, social media support, getting the buy-in, getting the resources in place, getting it known out there what we're trying to do. We started by having these weekly meetings. We have hired a social transformation expert. We have hired, put in place an implementation team. So once we have these things in place, in terms of having weekly notice, telling people what we're doing, having the buy-in from the ministry, having the buy-in from the people within the ministry, having the buy-in to the stakeholders, parents out there via regular information, via social media, showing how they can assist, getting the students to be online in terms of getting the technology, getting them online, getting their feedback. One of the things that we've been doing here at the ministry is putting policies out. One of the policies that we just put out this weekend was a dress and grooming policy, a nutrition policy, a policy that guidelines for devotions in school. All of these have been designed to get the support, getting the feedback of parents. So once we have people involved in the design of our policies, the design of our regulation, the buy-in will come in terms of what we're trying to do.
Okay, great. So may I now invite, do we have any questions from our audience online? And welcome again to all who are sharing with us today. And we certainly want your participation. Dr. Kerr has given us a wealth of information, and we would certainly like you to engage him and give us your views, ask him the questions, ask him what you will, and maybe even just give us your opinion on this educational transformation. Are there any questions? Okay, not at this time. So Dr. Kerr, with respect to, we know the costs infrastructure, and we know how important that is, and we know important technologies. And we're trying to get the internet connection, especially in the rural areas, we know how that can be. What is the approach with that? How do you think we, certainly with the bipartisan, with having private sector coming to help, how can we manage that?
We recently had support from, was it the Japanese government, towards buying a lot of it wasn't Japanese, South Korean government to provide tablets for over 3,000 of our students. So we're getting buy-in, we're getting the technology infrastructure in place. We are putting in place an EMIS that will document attendance, enrollment, behavior, performance. And so once we have that in place, the technology, we have enlisted the support of the major players in the market towards putting the technology in the field. We have tried with satellites, and it didn't work in the upper hinterlands of Jamaica. But we're experimenting with different methodology using television. So we have television programs that provide students with access to educational materials. We have also looked at videotapes. So we videotape the classes, and then students can access these videotapes at a later date. And so every effort is being made to infuse technology into education, into the curriculum. But the idea is that our schools will be, this new schools coming on, and schools there, the infrastructure, the technology will be overlaid with what is there. There's a need for security, and so cyber security is also being a part of our new overlay of our schools. But on a whole, I project that with private sector partnership, the diaspora, the international development partners, the government coffers, and the government is really trying to get this system in place. We have designed a program to train over 1,000 teachers in STEM technology. So teachers can now go into colleges free of cost to get the necessary training in STEM to facilitate the new schools that we're building, as well as the STEM methodology that we're trying to run through the schools. Having all those things in place requires resources, and the government is committed to provide that resource along with support. And we have an entity called NET, National Education Trust, that's actively looking out there for support for the education sector. There's also a program out of the stock exchange called the Social Stock Exchange that's also raising funds for education. So on and all, we think that we should be okay in terms of resources in getting the system in play. We have monitoring and evaluation in place, so we'll monitor the system after a year, evaluate it, and to say to what extent we're getting anywhere or whether there's need for more resources. But that M&E plan is in place.
Okay, that's good to know. It's good to know that resources are identified. Really good to know, because that's very important. So exactly what is the ministry preparing the youth for? Is it employment or entrepreneurship? And particularly that you have that 2-year hiatus.
Right.
What's the direction?
There is some labor market information that suggests that we might want to spend some money on BPOs. We might want to spend some money on the creative industries. So there's a lot of money to be made. I love how many knew of a concert here in Jamaica yesterday that involved quite a number of Jamaicans, but it also involved Chris Brown. Stadium was jam-packed.
Yes.
More than 60,000 people held in that stadium yesterday. And so we think that there is money to be made in the creative industry, in construction, manufacturing, energy, mining, cybersecurity, agriculture, robotics, and gaming. We think that these are some areas that if we get students involved in these areas, chances are the outlay, the return on investment will be greater. And so in terms of where we want to put our money in terms of investing in Jamaicans, these are some areas that we think that we want to provide students with opportunity to get these training, and as well as to assist us in developing the economy. So
and maybe
some areas.
Right.
And so
on that too. Right. Oh, sorry.
And the Student Loan Bureau, we need to tag along this process to say, if you're going into these areas, your loan from Student Loan Bureau will be 0 to 5%. We're trying to get it to very low and trying to get students who are qualified but don't have the resources to access tertiary. That is important going ahead.
Yes, that is so. That is so. So with respect to the scholarships,
right,
when are these starting, and how soon will we see them opening up?
The scholarships are already started, especially the one with the STEM, with the getting 1,000 teachers, 6,000 teachers, 6,000 teachers trained in STEM. That scholarship has already started. And as we go along, the ministry has, the minister, the Prime Minister have announced that any program at Hartrust NTA, which is level 4 and below, will be free of cost. So those are scholarships. Yes,
right. So, and that will be good. Are there any other questions from our audience? None yet? Yeah, well, it would be very good and enticing and encouraging that the scholarships, especially and with the student loan, those rates that you're quoting, that certainly will go a far way. That should go a far way. And we really look forward to that happening, and we certainly look forward to the more so the mindset. I think that was that was the first and foremost. And it has to be a community effort, it has to be cohesive, and that's the idea that we need to try to instill. The whole social dynamics is very, very important before we make any step forward. And particularly you mentioned about the early childhood and how important that is, and how important that the technocrats are properly trained. Because you know that when you learn something in the onset, that sort of stays with you. So I really, really enjoyed the discussion with you, Dr. Kerr, and I thank you very much for the information that you have shared. Are there any final words you want to give to our audience?
No, I'd just like to wrap up by saying critical to our transforming the education system. We've tried. This is maybe this is the third attempt at transformation. This one, I'm confident that if we do what we say we're gonna do, we're gonna have some transformation in the system. And bear in mind that transformation don't happen in 1, 2, or 3 years. It probably requires a whole set of students from grade 1 getting up to 6th form to transform it. So it's gonna take a while. But what we have done is put things in place in terms of teaching, in terms of teachers, and the whole licensing of teachers, and improving the quality of teachers, in terms of the curriculum, making the curriculum fun. I can tell you this, if the curriculum is fun, students will learn.
And engaging.
Technology,
Yes.
student engaging. Students are loving the technology. I went to a classroom recently where they brought in an assessment tool called quizzes, and the class came alive. Because they were getting the results right away. They knew who was the leader in the class, but learning became fun.
Right. Frozen. It seems to be frozen a bit. Yeah. Back on track. Yes, that's super critical. And the part about the interaction and engaging them, let it be their space, so that they'll be more interested.
Yes.
Especially that they're so pleased with the technology.
Right across Jamaica is going to be important. Because learning is going to be through technology, for the most part. We're going to spread the love.
So access is very important.
Right.
Thank you. I'll just ask, are there any areas of concern other than what you've mentioned before that you may need to zero in on and take a closer look, or rethink the approach, or anything?
I think monitoring value.
Pardon? It's frozen.
To get the system, to ensure the system is working. If we want it, just like our PIOJ has these 3-year medium-term economic framework, so every 3 years you test the system, you check through. If we do this on a regular basis, and right now we have weekly meetings, what is going on, where are we going? Once you communicate with the public, where we're going, where we're at, the resources are in place. This one, I've been in the system for long, but this one seems to be where we're going.
Well, that is good to know. That is so good to know. Monitoring and evaluation is very, very important. Right. That's the key to implementation and ensuring that it's done. Thank you so much, Dr. Kerr, for engaging us and for sharing all of that with us. And we certainly look forward to both the transformation of the educational system and the transformation of the mind. And we certainly look forward to this coming to fruition, certainly for the development of the nation. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was mine.
We are giving away a PIOJ logo item and a special gift voucher from a Jamaican company. This will go to the first person to write the correct answer in the Instagram chat within the next 24 hours. So you have a little leeway, but you have to be the first person also. The gift must be collected from the PIOJ office at 16 Oxford Road here in Kingston. And unfortunately, staff members and their families are not eligible to enter. So the question, what is the legal age for full-time employment in Jamaica? And what is the piece of legislation that sets this out? I'll repeat. What is the legal age for full-time employment in Jamaica? And what is the piece of legislation that sets this out? So you can send your answers by direct messaging, and you must send it by direct messaging. And the first correct answer will be accepted and you will be notified. The PIOJ appreciates your participation today, and as usual, welcomes your continued support and interaction. We have a lot of information that can add value to research and that will keep you abreast of topical issues, particularly relating to development and sustainability. Registration details will soon be available for the Dialogue for Development series on November 1 and 2. So stay tuned and follow us at the PIOJ, where you will find some useful links in the bio. Until next time, this is Sharon Powell here at the PIOJ. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too.